post it on my page. Okay.
Hey, you guys. This is Sky Juice coming to you live and direct from the beautiful city of Atlanta. And we have Tony B in the house. You look like you're ready to fight. You got your...
No, I was going to say, you said Atlanta. I said Wakanda.
Well, we are here tonight and we are going to be talking about something really interesting, like we always do. Interesting topic tonight. What is it going to be, Tony?
We're going to talk about maternity leave for women and mothers. And we're just going to talk about ideally what would be the proper amount of time that you would like to stay home to be there with the kid and the bond and all that, and what society in America believes is the amount of time that is adequate and how different it is in other countries for that. So we're just going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that because and we can even kind of bridge it over to, you know, a woman being able to be in that position because of the man and the way the man, you know, is providing there and that aspect of it. But I think a lot of it does have to do with having a child and not being able to raise them like you would really want to raise them and be there versus having a babysitter or daycare provider raise them and bond with them because you're spending 10 to 12 hours a day at work.
Right.
You know? Right. And we'll go into the how long they give you and all that, and you know, even a short amount of time for a man. You know, some don't even give a man any maternity leave at all.
Paternity leave.
Paternity. Okay, there you go. Paternity. One of them fraternities.
One of the fraternities.
Yeah, one of those fraternities. Yeah.
So, okay, I can definitely. I'm going to speak for the businesses. Okay.
Oh boy.
Because as a business owner, they don't have the money to keep paying people for a year or 6 months or whatever while they go and have a whole child. You know what I'm saying? So how does a business cover someone's indiscretions? You know what I mean?
I mean, okay, but they do it in other countries. Why can't they do it here?
I'm saying, how does a business how do businesses in other countries cover that? Does the government help with that? Is that what's going on? Is that a fund?
I mean, we can almost even talk about how at the same time we have other countries that are allowed to stay home to shelter in place from COVID. And look, we're going to give you this, you know, stipend every month.
Here's what Daddy America says. Y'all asses ain't gonna we ain't paying for that shit. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You can't stay home for too long. I mean, they did. A lot of people have been able to stay home and work from home and what have you. So that did happen, you know, in a large scale.
I mean, but then even if you talk about, when we talk about the pandemic and being able to slow the spread and why our numbers were so much more higher because, you know, America's mindset is just work. We need you to get back to work. That's why after a woman has a baby, okay, you got 6 weeks and now we need you to back. You need to be back. You know what I mean? Like, how many women really feel comfortable dropping off their 6-week-old child to a daycare provider that they might even really know? You know what I mean?
I'll speak on behalf now of being a mom. It is the worst. It is the worst. And honestly, you know, as you get older in life, you like learn from your mistakes and also see what's the better way. Mm-hmm. If you are having a child, right, or planning to have a child, and you can't stay home for several years, like literally you want your child to be talking before they go anywhere. You know what I mean? You want to be able to communicate with your child.
Yes.
Because if you can't communicate with your child and say, well, what did she say today? What happened?
Yeah, what did they do? You know,
what did they do?
How come you have that bruise on you or something?
Exactly.
Or how come you're terrified to go back to the...
Yes. If you can't be home as the mother, or, you know, let's be politically correct, even the father. Some fathers can stay home, you know, however y'all do it. if y'all can't if someone can't stay home with the baby until that child is talking, don't have children.
Yeah,
that's how we feel.
That goes back to this too. It's funny. I used to always, when I would see like particular presidential candidates, in particular President Clinton and President Obama, I was like, wow, they got really young kids and they're like 40-something years old. But at the end of the day, quote unquote, if you do it right and you go to school, get a degree, get a job, build a relationship, and then have a child when you're financially ready, then that's the right way to do it. But even then, even with, I remember about Michelle Obama's book, she was the, I guess, partner at a law firm, and she had a child, and she still had to do all these different things. Like, she didn't have that much time off. She made good money, but she still had to go back to work. And then I guess President Obama was still going to the gym, working out, doing all this stuff. And they said she felt kind of resentful. Like, they had to go to counseling behind that, because it was like, okay, this is your duty. You do that, and I'm going to do my duty as a man. And that's the, but she was still working as well and providing too. You see what I'm saying? So, like I say, sometimes you look at it as that's the right way to do it, but is it the right way to do it if everybody's going to be fair about it? If the man's going to say, okay, I got this, don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Like, only people I think about that are able to do it like that are like professional athletes. Professional athletes are able to say, don't worry about nothing. I got everything. Just raise the kids. You mean,
when you say professional athletes, you mean anyone who makes like $1 million or more? That's basically what you're
saying. Yeah. Basically, yeah. I mean, because who else can really afford to say? Because like me, I would say this. I would like for my child to be at home with their mom for the first 10 years. It sounds crazy. But then at the same time, it sounds crazy to me that after 6 or 7 years old, or maybe first or second grade, that, okay, they're going to school and maybe they're walking home, or they're sitting in this after school program, which, sometimes they got the 66 programs at the school, but sometimes they got to go to some kind of daycare provider. So they got to go from the school to maybe a bus or get picked up. And then they're here at this person's house for a couple of hours, and then you come pick them up after you get off work. I mean, that's crazy to me.
Okay, but what about the whole family thing? So what about if both parents are, professional work? Whether they're professional or not, they're both working, right? Mm-hmm. So you call grandma to come over and help with childcare, or auntie so-and-so, or what have you, who is family.
Mm-hmm. Now that's ideal. That's ideal. Right. But I knew people growing up that were like, they came up like in a foster system. They didn't have any family. So having a family is a blessing, and having family that are functional too. Because some people got family members, but some family members, you're just not on the same page, because they're just not as responsible. You're not going to leave her over at Keisha's house and Keisha over there smoking blunts, drinking 40, sitting on the front porch. Like, I'm not going to drop my child off over there. So
you know what? You always tell me what the problem is? We are really stereotyping the name Keisha.
I am. I don't care.
Keisha is the Black version of Karen.
It is. I just did that. Y'all can beat me up if you want to, but I'm just saying. But like I say, if what you're talking about is ideal, but that's just not. It's not always an ideal situation.
Let's talk about what an ideal. We need to create an ideal situation. I don't think it's an ideal is across the board, because I know everyone has their different perspectives, right? But ideal would be to. Do you have children, right?
Yes.
Okay, you've had some blips on the road, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so my whole thing is, let's do better. Like, for real, like, people should just not have children if their shit is not together. Like, do not. Okay. I don't know. I know that's not going to happen.
No. I absolutely agree with you. But let's just be real. This is the 50-year-old Tony talking, and this is the. No, I shouldn't ask your age, but this is the older, wiser Sky talking, not the 27.
I don't have a problem. I'm not hiding my age.
Okay, this is the 47, not the 27-year-old Sky talking. You see what I'm saying? So it's easy for us to say that because we have much more wisdom, much more knowledge, and much more life experiences. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, it just, I can't say I followed this same rule myself as a child, as a young.
That's exactly.
No, I can't say I followed it. And my mother definitely was against my whole youth on everything I did.
You were a rebel. Yeah, you were a rebel, and you did what you wanted to do. And,
yeah, for sure. But
it was from the tree when it comes to our kids, because a lot of times our kids are going to have the same kind of personalities.
yeah, the thing is, everything she said was right. Like everything. And it's just like, I wish I could have rewound and just did what she said, because
sure everything that you
I would
said
have been better off.
Yeah, and I'm sure everything you say to your kids is right too, but do they listen to everything you say?
No, they don't listen to anything I say.
And there you go. So when you say that, let's not do that. That sounds good for us because we're older and we're wiser. But when you're young, you're just not thinking like that. You're not thinking like that. You should be. The blueprint should be laid out for you like that. But when you have these so much, I guess, called independent thinkers, especially nowadays with these kids, because these kids are really, I'm going to do what I want to do, and you can't tell me because you don't know what you're talking about type of thing. And they weren't even like that when we were younger, but we still did the same thing. You know, we did what we wanted to do.
So here's a difference. The experiences that I had with my children was different. And the last child I had, I was actually 35. So I was older. I actually had a restaurant when I had him. Mm-hmm. Actually, the last three, I had a restaurant. Mm-hmm. But specifically with him, that was the end of me owning this restaurant in Baltimore, because I was like burnt out and done, right?
Yeah.
And from that point on, he was like a baby. He was a few months old when I was out of that restaurant. Mm-hmm. And from that point on, I was with him every day of his life for 9 years. Mm-hmm. He'd never gone to school. He'd never had a babysitter. He never knew anybody else but me, his dad, and his siblings, period.
Now, in retrospect, do you wish you would have been able to do that with all your kids?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Like, each child had a different experience. You know, some went to school, some were homeschooled, and they're all different because of their experiences. Mm-hmm. But I feel like there's not enough time. We don't have enough time for our children. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the unfortunate part is a big part of our time is sleeping and hustling. You know what I mean? And the only thing I could say that helped with like my children is owning a business, because even though I had a restaurant in Baltimore, I had a back room with a couch, TV, cable. And while I'm out here cooking and serving customers and being there till 9, 10 o'clock at night, sometimes 11, they were in the back sleeping, doing homework, watching movies. They were still there with me right after school. They could walk from the school to my restaurant because it was right down the block. Mm-hmm. So
at what age?
We're talking let's see, they were from all of them. So they were from I can't remember the ages. So the oldest one, he did go to another school because he graduated at 8th grade and went to like the high school. Okay. Or the middle school. I don't know. But anyway, they were about from 14 down to like kindergarten. Mm-hmm. So they would all come over to my job. They would walk down like around 3 o'clock. Here comes the troops. You know what I'm saying?
And not to freak anybody out or traumatize anybody, but in this day and age of human trafficking and all this stuff and organ harvesting, whether you believe it or not, are you really comfortable with a child walking down the street, even though it's right down the street, by themselves?
Yes, I am. I mean, I won't say comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Ideally, I would want to be able to pick up my child, put my child in the car and take them versus wondering, are they going to be okay walking down the street, even if it's a block?
For me, a block away, I had never, not one moment thought that they wouldn't make it down the block.
But that's why I said this day and age, not then, this day and age of what's going on now.
Then was like, it was within the last 10 years. Like, how you mean further back?
Further back. I mean, yeah, within this last 10 years, I mean, we see a lot of kids coming up missing all the time, even adults as well.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. And that's really scary.
That's what I'm saying. That's scary to me. It's traumatizing me. Like, I don't even want to think about stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's just, ugh.
It's okay, Tony.
Yeah. I mean.
But I feel like, I never felt fear of my children. I just have a protection ring around them as much as I could, much as I could. Yeah. But, I kind of feel like paranoid thinking creates more paranoia. It's like
paranoid to me is unrealistic. This is not unrealistic. This is just the day and age that we're living in right now with people in their sick, twisted mind states. And that's just how society is right now. There's a lot of people out there that have a real sick, twisted mindset, and you always have to be kind of aware of these situations. You know what I mean? You're not being fearful, but you're being aware so you don't allow anything to happen to you. You see what I'm saying?
I mean, I know that shit happens out here for sure. I mean, I just never, during those times, I never considered for 1 minute that.
But does anybody that has a child abducted, does anybody ever consider things? You know what I mean? None of them do probably. They probably said, I never thought in a million years that somebody would snatch my child up walking down the street. There was a video,
like way off the subject, but it's part of the subject.
Yeah.
It's about the subject. It's about It's about abduction, not maternity leave. But
But
Go ahead. Finish what you were saying.
No. We were talking about, because it goes back to the maternity leave part. Like if you have this time off, those are the things that you know, as a mother, I'm dropping my child off and I'm picking my child up. You know what I mean? I'm there. I'm cooking dinner for them. I'm there.
There's parents that are, well,
I'm just saying, I mean, helping them with their homework.
I mean, look at the schools in the morning time. There's like a line of cars of parents dropping their kids off, and there's a line of cars at the end of school, parents picking them up. Most likely they're not all like, you know, some of them may be working parents that have to like leave work to pick up their kid. I mean, there are parents that do that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is the best thing for parents to do in this day and age, once they're becoming parents or became parents, is to create a business so that they have more flexibility with their time. Specifically, like a stay-at-home. Like if you're at home with your kids for 9 or 10 years, you're going to have to now rely on the husband, the father, the man, the baby daddy, whatever y'all call it, to provide, to make sure that my quality of living is always going to be the same. I'm not going to go down. You know what I'm saying?
Or we can throw a little tidbit of financial literacy in there and say, you're in a situation where your money works for you and you don't have to work for your money. So you don't have to leave the house because your money is working for you anyway. But that's a whole different.
But I'm just saying, I mean, that's when people need to like get their business game on. And that's what should be taught in schools. It shouldn't be like how to get this job. It should be like, what business do you want to create? That's what they should just go to. If they're going to go to high school, it should be like, what are you interested in creating as a business to make money, period? Don't be working for nobody. Love Living Light in Light says, I went back to work 4 days after birth with one child and 6 months with my youngest. Appropriate depends on the individual and circumstances or lifestyle. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you, I had to put my number 3 and 4 in daycare. And I think number 4, she was a baby, but she wasn't like I can't remember how old she was, but I think she was over a year, I think, or 1 to 2 or something like that. I don't really remember, but this particular daycare center would take them at 1 week. 1 week. They only had one baby there during that time. But I was just like mortified that the mother had to go back to work. She basically gave birth. And it made the whole thing about healing, you know, like your whole insides just came crashing out.
It was just expanding like this, and they're still
like your bones and your cake, like the whole situation is on like boom. And you know, that is drastic. And then like just to be having to get up and go to work immediately is really
I don't know if you're still watching Love Light. Question for you. How did you feel after going back after 4 days after giving birth? Like, I don't know if you want to ask that, but if you can, because I'm really curious. I'm like, man, 4 days. I mean, I know your body was still trying to adjust to being back to normal again. You know what I mean?
Whew. So my whole thing is with the whole baby thing. I love the whole baby process. I love it. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of women, here's the other side of the coin with the whole stay at home with the babies. Women go through major depression postpartum.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of women. Mm-hmm. And the whole stay at home with your baby thing, it's not all beautiful.
But at the same time, it could be rough in the fact that you've dropped your child off and now you're feeling like a terrible mom because you had to go back to work and leave your child with some stranger. So that part of the depression probably can. So it's a double-edged sword. It can go both ways.
It can go both ways. But let me tell you, I've had my kids in various times in different centers, daycare centers, even the kind where they like have daycare in the house, like they create their house into a daycare and they could take like 4 or 5 kids.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, a lot of these daycare people are better than you. They are better at dealing with children and babies and crying and diapers and cleaning and than a lot of people, you know, and that's why they need a service like this. You know what I mean? A lot of mothers specifically are not nurturers in the sense of, you know, I'm going to sit here and knit a blanket while I nurse all day. You know what I'm saying? Because the only real reason why a woman needs to stay with her baby really is because she's nursing. She can't remove the breast off, right? So if you're not even giving your baby breast milk and you're giving the formula, then why are you there? The father can do it. Any babysitter, any child, you know what I mean? So the reason why women stayed home with their babies was because they had to nurse. So Love Living says, I actually felt fine. I was an office manager and it allowed for me to keep my feet up, answer phones, and do sit down administrative duties. So she didn't like strain herself and stuff like that.
Okay.
What about the bonding though?
Yeah.
I'm interested because the bonding is, you know, and here's the thing, I come from a generation or I come from a mindset that there's no other option but breastfeeding. Like I hear mothers talk about, oh, the baby didn't latch on and, oh, I didn't have enough milk. And there's like all these excuses of why you can't breastfeed. I didn't even know about that. There was no option to breastfeeding. Like your breasts were created by whom or what to feed these babies. That's the only reason why we have breasts. It's the only reason why.
Another topic that we'll have to do, we'll talk about what's the acceptable amount of time to breastfeed, because I know some people that breastfeed
for years.
Child is walking and talking and say, Mom, I'm hungry, you know. And
I think it's a personal thing. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I just, you know, I don't know.
Because when you talk about the benefits of breastfeeding, you know, they're healthier, they tend to be smarter, they get sick less. Like all these.
That's your immune. That's when you get. That's the vaccinations that your kids are getting. Yeah. I mean, if you're not, I'm not a vaccinator of my children, so I have to breastfeed. There's no way I'm not going to do it. Love Living says, you are so right. There is no way in the world I would have been able to be at home taking care of my children 24 hours a day. I used to love going to punch the clock and working my own business. It was like a break. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Like some women, like, look, there are, you know, there's this thing where people think like they do this. You know what I mean? People like women are the mothers and nurturers, the what have you. And then there are women who are good at other things. And then it doesn't discredit either party. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, some things you have a little bit better than this or that. For me, like I was raised by 2 women, my grandmother and my mother. My mother was the business hustler, 5 businesses at one time, you know, boom, 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 right? Her phone was ringing, da, 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 da. My grandmother was a housewife her whole life. And she was an activity person. Like she would do events, she would do like make hats for church and sell it to the church ladies, blah, blah, blah. So she was more domesticated. She was a domesticated. She would sew curtains. She ironed sheets. Who does that? Who irons sheets? She made the sheet. No, she made the sheet and then she ironed it. Yo, they're like $10 down at.
My grandma used to do the same. She used to I guess she was a professional, like ironer. Like she would iron and press people's, you know, and then she would let them pay them whatever they felt was fair and stuff like that. That was her business. And I remember growing up, she had a lot of people that came through and dropped.
Let me tell you, my mom had an ironer come to the house once or twice a week just to iron her clothes. And I was like, what is that? Like, and her name was, okay, so her name was Agatha, right? So she was from the islands. I can't remember which island, but you know the name Agatha, but the way they pronounce it was Agatha. But anyway, she was there in my life for years, and I was just like, I would sit there and talk to her, and I was just amazed that this was her livelihood. I was like, wow.
Another comment here.
Love Living is talking to us today.
Thank you for interacting and telling your story. We sure appreciate that.
She said, I believe breastfeeding the child for at least the first month so they can get all the good nutrients out and get their system off to a great start. I birthed 8 and breastfed 7. One of my twins just would not latch and suck. The shortest amount of time was 6 months. The longest was about 10 months when they started to gnaw and pull and different things like that. However, I still pumped to provide the nourishment of the breast milk. So if you're pumping, you're still breastfeeding.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so for some people out here, that's more convenient than,
but definitely if you need to pump, even if the baby doesn't latch on, because that, I'm also a doula, y'all. So I do have some knowledge of the whole birthing process. But
you said, I don't believe in vaccinations to the children. That's right.
I think that's the anti thing to say now. I mean, I just couldn't believe it, but I guess I grew up in a island. I did, a bubble. But anyway, breastfeeding helps make your womb smaller. It's part of, like, there's a whole thing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh yeah. So when you breastfeed, it's like it literally starts pulling that womb back together. It's like so yeah. But back to maternity leave. My whole thing was for business. So I think the only job that I remember getting maternity leave was when I was in Baltimore, and I had Yasmin, who's in the vicinity here. And they gave me, she's somewhere, I can hear her. They gave me, I think, like 2 weeks.
Wow.
They gave me 2 weeks. So I got 2 weeks paid, and then I got another 2 weeks unpaid. And then I think maybe I got a month. I think I was out for like 6 weeks. Right.
Now, with all of this too, we're assuming all these are going to be natural childbirth. We're not even talking about the cesarean. So if there's cesarean section, that's a whole different can of worms, right?
C-sections takes longer to heal from, because basically you're sewn inside, and then I think they staple it because it kind of goes away, and then the exterior. I don't think I think they're the kind of stitches now that dissolve or whatever.
Yeah, dissolve. They even have like a glue or something like that now, I heard.
Something.
Yeah.
So, but it's still like you have to be very careful, and the pain level on healing from that. And if you have a baby naturally, then 9 times out of 10, if you give birth in the hospital, they're going to give you an episiotomy just on procedure, which is when they cut the vagina wall. Come on, that's easy.
I know I don't have one, but it just sounds very painful.
Look, it's not painful at all, because what happened is, here's the vagina opening, right? And the head is coming through, right? So it's pushing. And so the mother doesn't even feel when they start cutting, because it went numb, basically. It goes numb. Like, you don't feel nothing. Like when they cut it, you don't feel it because it's stretched to its max, right? The thing about it is healing. Now they got to sew that shit up. That's the worst. I had that happen once. I was like, please don't ever come. And
she said, don't ever.
No, because my first child I had in the hospital, and I had everybody else at home. And I was like, we're gonna alleviate that right now. And the number one thing I'm gonna tell mothers out there who are listening, who are pregnant, is get you some good olive oil, and take that olive oil and massage your vagina, because that will help lubricate and stretch. Because you want that baby's head to just come out, and you want the skin to just like right around, so you don't tear or anything. Is that too much information? Sorry.
No. I said another side note. We're gonna have to do a show
on birthing.
No. Because I'm not really. I just probably like with the last 10 or 15 years got familiar with what a doula was, and I even heard it because I heard Erica Badu. They said she's a doula. I'm like, what's a doula? She helps people give birth. Well, how is that? So
she doesn't midwife helps the mom give birth.
Save this. We gotta save this. We gotta save this. This is gonna be a whole topic. I don't even want you to waste this topic because this is gonna be a good one. Good one. So don't even. We'll save it for.
We need to find some doulas to talk to too. Besides myself. Love Living says that sounds just like my grandmother. She will go to the senior citizen building and help make plates, and she sold the church robes and made hats, just like your grandmother did. Very domestic. Yeah, my grandmother was super creative. She just made everything. She had a garden. She was just. My mom was super business. So I have both sides of the coin. Later on in life, my mom showed her domestic side, but I definitely say I have more domestic in me than business and hustle. The business and hustle side is survival.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Love Living says, now that sounds like my grandmother too. She did not have a set price on things, and a lot of church people got over, or it seemed like it. She would make wedding dresses and gowns, everything, and they really did not take care of things money-wise, but Granny was a very blessed woman while she was here. That's so sweet.
Yes. God bless.
Yeah, so, but then, you know, like back to the parenting thing. I mean, what do you like? Let me throw this rug in the. What about the father doing the childcare while the mother goes out to hustle? What if she's making more money and he stays home?
Absolutely, absolutely possible. Certain times you might be getting some calls at work because he might not know what to do, but it's nothing wrong with that. It's nothing wrong if you don't know. And hey, babe, this is going on. What should I? Oh, just okay. You know what I mean? But if they're man enough to say, I can do this, I'm going to do this, then why not?
I mean, I have come a long way with those thoughts. I think a good, even 5 years ago or 6 years ago, I was anti that line of thinking.
Really?
Oh, God, yes. Very much.
See what I was just talking about, how over years, the you now is not the same as the you years ago? Yeah.
5 or 6, not 5, maybe 6, 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was married at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A man was not supposed to stay home with no child. That's how I used to think.
Mm-hmm.
He can stay home with a child a little bit, but that's not his role. He needs to be out there hustling and making. That's how I used to think.
Mm-hmm.
Really hardcore. I don't think that way anymore. I have like relaxed a lot of that rhetoric that I've been, it's indoctrination, right?
All of us, yeah.
We've been indoctrinated with thinking a certain way. And it works for a lot of people. It works for a lot of people. It never really worked for me because the truth is, even if I was home with children, I am still making money daily. I got my Airbnb over here. I'm doing retreats. I'm doing smoothies and juices for somebody. You get what I'm saying? So I'm still home with the baby, but I'm taking care of stuff. So
because I got to write down, you just gave me another one. At what point should a person become an independent thinker? Meaning not conform to what their parents taught them. And you think
At what point? At
what age?
Right now, like immediately. What do you mean at what point?
When you're a child and you're growing up. When do you start saying I'm going to be?
Okay, this is you just took it onto another road, but that's okay.
Yeah. That's what I said. I said that's one we're gonna write down because we'll talk about it.
I'm just saying, what I think is really bad, and I don't know if this is even. I think that children should not be baptized.
I don't think so either. But I mean,
because I feel like you should, as a child, like just like the Amish, they don't baptize their children because they don't feel like they can make a sound judgment on the religion, even though they're indoctrinated in living in the religion, right? They're given like till 18 or whatever, and then they can leave for like a year and chill in the real world, and then come back and say, hey, yes, I want to be baptized now because I saw what was out there.
But even with that being said, right, if you're a child, you're going to conform to a lot of what your parents' beliefs are. So whatever your beliefs are, your child is going to conform to that, but eventually they might want to be independent and do something else, right? So
Yes.
every child is going to conform to whatever their parents give them as this is what we do. This is how you think. This is how you lead your life. And then you'll get to that point where you say, okay, now I'm going to do something different. I was taught this. I was brought up like this, but this is what I want to do now. This is who I want to be now.
I think children, these young people early on in life are making decisions about how to think early now because they're influenced by everything else too.
We done got way off from maternity, but yeah.
It's okay though. It's part of life.
Yeah.
I mean, young people are being they're on the internet. There's 90 million ideas of living, of things coming to them and hitting them in all kinds of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Who did I see recently? I saw a couple friends recently and I saw their children, right? I'm trying to think of who this particular woman was because I can see her daughter more than I can see her. I can't remember. But anyway, this is at an event I had went to. This woman was natural goddess, dreadlocks, naturalista, African vibe. Her daughter was with her, looked just like her, same face, with a whole lace front, the big old Dollar Tree eyelashes, makeup for days, little outfit. And she just looked like the anti of her mom. You know what I'm saying? And so that is exactly what these kids are coming up with their own lifestyle. You know what I mean? You can indoctrinate your children as much as they want. They might come back to what they thought or what they were taught, but most likely, Dollar Tree, Kim, Dollar Tree. Anyway, yeah. So, I mean, I think that, the youth definitely, at what age? I think they should create their own mind immediately, as soon as they have a thought. Like, I love talking to these teenagers that are smart and just like they do the knowledge, they read up on stuff and they have an opinion about the world. Oh, I love it.
There's more information. Not that we didn't have information, but you got information at your fingertips, like right on your phone.
We had the Encyclopedia Britannica. That shit was old as soon as we got it.
And you couldn't carry it around with you everywhere. Like right now, if you think of something you want to know, you can look it up on your phone and Google it or whatever. Not that Google's always right, because it's not always right.
There's like multiple articles. You can reference stuff, right? The thing is, like Britannica, and my mother sold World Book and then she sold Britannica, right? The funny thing is, it's like as soon as you get it, that shit is outdated. Yeah. Like there's an update. You know what I'm saying?
Every year there's new,
every day. Like, so that was funny. You buy and then they bought these books for like $2,000. Do you know how expensive they were?
Yes.
I think they were like more than that. I think they were like $50 a book.
Selling the knowledge.
Like A through Z.
Knocking on your door. Would you like some Encyclopedia Britannicas here for your house? And that's
stupid.
Yeah.
And then remember going to the library to write a report with these dumb encyclopedias? I hated that. I was like, this is all wrong.
Plagiarism was a big thing for me because I'm writing sometimes word for word. I might skip a word here and there, but I was just like, you want me to write a report and an essay? Okay.
Oh my gosh. So so the whole parenting thing, I think it's fun. I think parenting, and then people need to make it fun. I feel like that beginning stage, if you can't really like daycare business is never going to go out of business, but they should. You can't even say. I hate laws anyway. I'm anti-law too. I'm anti-law, but you can't even say create a law to you can't bring your children here until 6 months. What are people going to do? They're going to have to rely on a home daycare. You know what I mean?
So somebody else just put 6 months to a year.
Vicente Alfonso said 6 months to a year. Basically stay home with them 6 months to a year. I believe that's what we were on. So
when let's talk about in other countries and how they're
maternity leave.
Yeah.
I pulled it up.
Yeah.
I pulled it up.
Yeah,
okay. I'll just go down. I'll just kind of pull some that are the big ones. Let's see. The ones that have very, very long lengths of leave, Algeria is 14 weeks. Most of Africa, 14 weeks is what, 2.5 months?
Mm-hmm.
No, three and a half months.
3.5 months.
Three and a half months.
Yeah.
Let's see. That's most of it. Most African countries that I'm scrolling through are 3.5 months.
Okay.
Let's see what else is past that. Afghanistan is 90 days. China is 90 days. Fiji is 84 days. Mongolia is 101 days.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you got to go back to work. Thailand is 90 days. Belarus is in Europe, 126 days. Bulgaria, 120 to 180 days. So that's
6 months. Is that?
Yeah, up to 6 months.
Yeah.
Finland, 105 days. Romania, 112 days. Russia, 140 days. Ukraine, 126 days. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, do you get to the point where you wonder, how are these jobs able to afford to let somebody be off this amount of time and still hold their position for them as well?
Yeah, that's what I want to know. Oh, here it is. It says it here. Who pays? Aha, it says it here. Social Security pays. Most of these are Social Security. Some of it is 50% employer, 50% Social Security. South Africa, it's unemployment insurance. Let me find the one. Brazil, which is 120 days Social Security. That's good.
So basically, we're pretty much the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to maternity leave and time.
Yeah, did I see US?
Yeah.
I don't think I saw US on here because I think this was more than 120 nations provide paid maternity leave. Yeah. Some are the employers, but mostly it's Social Security. That's cool.
Which Social Security for us is about to be non-existent probably in the next 10 or 15 years, but
right. Okay, so the United States is 12 weeks. And
12 weeks.
And it says who pays? No one.
No one.
It's a blank.
Who says it's 12 weeks though? I mean, I've never heard it being 12. I've always heard it's 6 weeks.
And I guess that because there's no one that pays it, you can take your time off and maybe not lose your job. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like you could take up to 12 weeks off. I don't know. I think it depends on the company. So, but guess what happened when I took this maternity leave and I took I think I took an extra month off. I went back to work and they fired me. And I got unemployment for 9 months. And the day after my last unemployment check, I opened my first restaurant.
So what would Sky say? Trash. They're gonna fire you after taking an extra month off?
No, I'm okay with that because what happened is while I was gone, the director, because I was working for a nonprofit organization, she stepped down. And the new director was a coworker of mine who didn't like me.
Oh, okay. Politics.
Yeah, politics. And I was like, yo, I don't want to be working for your ass anyway. So let me go so I can collect my check and go back home to my baby. So I was at work for like maybe a couple days. And then they were like, yeah, well, let's have a meeting. I was like, y'all are dumb. And then when I opened my restaurant, I was like, boom.
Now let's talk about another thing. When you talk about leaving your kids at these daycares and all that old stuff, what if you have a certain diet that you want your children to kind of conform to, and then you drop them there and then they're just kind of giving them whatever they have? Like, how do you feel about that?
No. First of all, you don't let anyone feed your child. That is ignorance.
I mean, if they're 6 weeks old or 12 weeks old, you know.
No, you don't. Everything that your child needs to live, it'll be in that little baby bag that you provide. You do not let them feed your child. That's craziness.
I know
That's like
people do
poor
though.
parenting. Ugh!
They do though. You know, these days.
No, you're not supposed to. You need to bring the formula or the milk or the pump breast milk or the cereal. I would bring mashed avocado, mashed banana, you know. I didn't have my kids in daycare for too long, but like a couple times I had to do it, and you just got to do what you got to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you don't let them. They don't usually provide food. They provide food for the bigger kids.
Oh yeah, more for. But even then, okay, even if you got bigger kids and you go to daycare, and you have
my oldest son, who's grown with a baby, he was at a. It wasn't like a. Was it a daycare? It was like a daycare, but it was like more like a preschool kind of place because he was older. He was like 3 or 4, and they had a party, right? And I was at work at this restaurant that I worked at, and they couldn't reach me because they wanted to make sure, you know, they were checking in. And then, of course, by the time I called them, because I got a message, they had the party, and the second call, they called me back. What happened was they were calling me to see if he could have this pizza, right? And I said, well, no, he doesn't eat pizza, because at that time in my life, I was really strict vegan, right? And my kids were. So they gave him pepperoni pizza, but they took the pepperoni off and gave him pepperoni flavored cheese pizza. And so they didn't reach me the first time, but the second time they called me, I got it, and he was throwing up.
I bet he was. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to come and get him, and it was like what I would do with them when I was I was like a hardcore, you know, vegan and stuff like that. I would bring, like, if they said they were going to have a pizza party for another kid or cupcakes or something, certain things I had to like think about everything. So I would like bring pizza for him that he could have while they're having the pizza party with the other kids. Like, this is his pizza. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But after those 2 kids, I had 2 more, but those 2 well, they're older now. They made me readjust my thinking on how strict to be. Because like we would go to events and like it would be like a kids party, and they weren't conscious. So they had Cheetos, Doritos, jelly beans, candy, crap, trash, all kinds of garbage, right? Sodas. These little kids are drinking sodas and all this stuff, right? And so, of course, you know, Mama Sky brought
green juice. Kale with
I brought all kinds of juices and fruit cut up in a fruit salad. And I remember Yosef saying to me, why are we here? Why are we here? Like, why did you bring us here if we can't enjoy any of this trash? You know what I mean? Pretty much. So I had to relax my indoctrination, because it was like they weren't happy. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, your kids got to be happy. You can't put all this shit on them. And that's for any shit you're on. You know what I mean? That was the shit I was on. But people are on a lot of shit, and they just force their kids into this bullshit. And it's like, your children are not happy with this shit. This is your shit.
But it comes back to what they've been taught, whether it be religion, whether it be diet, whether it be
very young.
Yeah.
They were very young. And then I created a rule, which was like, if we go out in the street and we go to someone's house or a party or go out to eat, y'all can eat whatever the hell you want. I don't really care, because have fun.
Like I evolved into not drinking cow milk, right? And when I told my mom about it, she was telling me that there's nothing wrong with it. She grew up off of it. They used to repasteurize it, and they probably just don't make it the same no more and all this stuff. And I'm like, Mom, no. Like, milk is just so nasty. But she was brought up like that. She tried to she brought me up like that until I was able to evolve myself. And, my individuality was like, no, why am I having stomach issues every time I drink milk? And why is it, you know what I mean? And then taking a step back and somebody telling me about how it's an animal that animal wouldn't even drink another animal's milk, but we're drinking another animal's milk. Basically, and then sometimes you got to break it down to people. What's the difference between cow milk from a cow and milk from a dog? They're all animals, right? What's the difference?
The milk from a cow is for a baby
calf that grows into
a dog is for a puppy.
Yeah,
that's the difference. That's it.
But they're animals. Yeah, I mean, it's an animal. There's
like 90 million people that don't agree with you. So
yeah, and a whole milk company that we're probably. Never mind. I'm sorry. I ain't even gonna talk about it.
No, they're not. No, they're not. But here's the thing. You're not Oprah. So here's the thing. The thing is, and that's a good conversation, is the diet. Why our diets are so shitty and all this indoctrination of food and what we've been taught. But once you put that on the list, you know what I mean?
I think we already got that one there. We just ain't got to it yet.
Really? Because I mean, I have a coworker who is beat up in his health. And then, we were at work tonight and he opens his little lunch that he brought from work. And I'm like, that is the reason why you're sick.
Yeah.
Your food is why you're sick. Like, you don't even get it. All this medication you're on, all this pain you're dealing with, all this crap you deal with, you are never going to get well because you don't even consciously. I was like, stay with me for a few months and your whole life will change. And he's like, I don't like fruits and vegetables.
But more than likely, that's what he was taught by his parents, his mother and his father, to eat that type of food. So it's hard. It goes back to the individuality. Like, when does a person become their own individual and have their own way of thinking? Like I said, it doesn't just mean like a religion or whatever. It also means your diet, your food, maybe even exercise, all of these things. You have to be to that point to where you say, this is and it can go both ways. You can, like, I know you raise your kid as strict vegans, but they might have strayed away from that eventually. But
yeah,
they can always come.
I've strayed away from it as well, but I know better and they know better too. That's the cool
and that's all that matters, knowing what you need to do. Yeah. But when you don't know and they just give you all this junk, like, obviously, I don't mean to talk bad about him, but obviously he doesn't know because he has his lunch with a whole bunch of stuff that's just unhealthy for him. That's, probably.
I mean, literally, yeah, like, that's like the biggest passion of my life. So he could change his whole life by changing what he eats.
Mm-hmm.
Like in a miraculous way. He thinks he's gonna die if he doesn't eat meat.
I know a lot of people that are like that. A lot.
He's like, I'm gonna die. I'm like, you're gonna live. But anyway, I think we're good for tonight.
Yeah, I think we're good. I think that was interesting. We kind of veered off as we usually do, but I mean, we got a little bit of insight. Some people, commented on some things, so I think that's cool. I think we'll keep it going. And everybody, if you can like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, we're trying to get our YouTube views up, subscribers, and all that good stuff. So
I forgot to post it, and I will do that right now.
Mm-hmm.
I hear some music in the background. Is that you?
Come on, it's always me.
Always you.
Sets the vibe.
For shizzle. Okay. Alrighty, posting. Oh, wait. Anyway, other than that, all is well?
All is well. We don't have we have a topic. We just got to pick which one for Tuesday. We have millions of topics. We just don't know which one we're gonna actually do. So
we'll figure it out. So that's about it for tonight. It's 11 o'clock here at the old villa hacienda.
Yukasa.
See. Have a good evening, and I will talk to you later.
Thank you for tuning in.
Yep.